Hi guys, Goat Mom here. We are here to answer your questions. Again, I'm here with Night Cove the Fox, and we're going to see if we can get through some of your questions on the community tab. So let's get started. All right, could we talk about school? I'm in pre-algebra, and the teacher makes me feel as I'm not smart enough to be in the class, and I have to tell myself not to cry. By the way, I love your videos. Thank you. And oh my gosh, this is such a familiar story. So yes, we can. And I think I'll let Night Cove probably take this one.
I've had a bad history with math teachers up until high school. Like junior high, I had two very, very bad teachers that were very much on the opposite of the spectrum of like being an absolute ass to just being an absolute pushover and not knowing what he was doing. So in 7th grade, I was also taking pre-algebra, and I had this teacher that we called Mr. Ballsack because he was such a special word. But he had a really bad rage problem. He would throw markers at students for getting answers wrong. He would scream at the top of his lungs if you got an answer wrong. He would tell you to leave if you got an answer wrong, or if he caught you even like looking at another person and making eye contact while he was teaching, he would assume that you were talking to them, and he would basically send you to detention immediately. He was just a very angry man, and he didn't make you feel good about being wrong. So I definitely have been in that situation where I dreaded going to math class because I knew the teacher was probably going to ridicule me in some way or yell at me or belittle me.
Throw an eraser at you.
Yeah, I mean, this guy would flip students over in their chairs, which is why eventually some of us gathered and we were ready to report him because it was starting to actually get scary. So I'm hoping that your situation isn't that bad. I'm assuming that he must have been going through some things at home that really just sent him into a downward mental spiral.
He used to be a really nice guy, actually.
Because, yeah, my older sister had the same teacher when she was in elementary school, and he was nice as pie.
Yeah,
like, he was great. But I think he had gone through some personal traumas or family issues, and it just really sent him off. So, bless his heart. I know that going through personal things is hard, but you also shouldn't take it on your students the way he did. So, my respect for him really dipped after I had him for about, not even half the first quarter of the year, and his behavior was already terrifying. So, but yeah, I definitely know that situation. It's all too familiar. If your situation is that bad, don't be like me and don't wait as long to report the teacher, because if the teacher is actually being aggressive or doing anything close to what I just described, you should report it to the office.
Yeah, whether they're talking down to you, belittling you.
Belittling you. If they're making fun of you or ridiculing you or doing anything that is, unprofessional, instead of giving you constructive criticisms and helpful feedback that you can use to improve your work, then you can report that, because that is unprofessional and that is also just really rude for a teacher to do. So, don't be afraid to report a teacher because they are being extremely mean or,
They have a level of professionalism they have to abide by, and as a kid you don't always know that, but let me tell you, there is a set of rules they have to follow, and that is definitely including not belittling their students. So, as wonderful as he was, and that some teachers might be as a person at points in their life, they cannot take their stress out on you when they get to work. So go ahead and contact somebody of authority within the school, and if you need to, of course, get your parents or an adult in your life involved in helping you report them if you don't feel safe doing that yourself. But it's not okay. So first of all, if it's that bad. Otherwise,
obviously, if you are comfortable, tell your parents about this situation, because maybe they can help. I know that sometimes the staff of a school will listen a lot better when parents get involved. I've had that case several times with her, because sometimes if you're at a not so great school and the staff is very, biased towards themselves and they don't tend to listen to students' concerns, sometimes you'll go to them and you'll report something and they'll just kind of shrug it off and be like, whatever, go back to class, you're fine, suck it up. So then sometimes you have to get adults involved, and then they'll be nice as pie, and they'll be like, oh, we're so sorry, don't sue us.
How are you? Do you need a new pencil? Like, what can I get you today?
Oh, Jessica, oh, she's great. She's such a good student.
Yeah.
And then to the other staff, they're like, oh, she's a little, like, you know. So if you want to tell your parents, and you think that your parents would also listen or consider, you know, your situation, please tell your parents as well. Tell any trusted adult. You know, just let other adults know what's going on, because they can probably help you. Because when you're a student in a classroom, sometimes it's hard to, you know, because you're not really in the place to be like, I don't know, stand up for yourself. It feels wrong because you're a student and you're there to learn, and they're the teacher, so you're kind of looking up to them, right? Because they're teaching you something.
They control you.
Yeah,
they control
sort
your
of.
day.
Yeah, like for that hour that you're in that math period, they kind of have control over what happens in that room. So it can be terrifying to try and stand up for yourself.
But do it.
But yes, do it. And even if that's not directly to the teacher, you can stand up indirectly by reporting the teacher's behavior, talking to, you know, maybe some friends that you trust. Be like, hey, like, I have this really mean teacher. Like, you know, you can vent to your close friends about it if you want to get the feelings off your chest. And hey, if you even feel like it, you can approach the teacher and be like, hey, you know, I respect you because you're my teacher, but also I don't find it, you know, professional, and I don't necessarily appreciate it when you ridicule me for getting an answer wrong or something along those lines. Like, can you please stop doing that? Because as a teacher, I want to respect you and look up to you and feel like I'm safe in this learning environment. And since you're not really providing a safe learning environment, I'm having trouble picking up the coursework.
Yeah, your behavior is not making me feel safe. And that safe, that word is going to ring some bells for that teacher, hopefully, and they'll immediately, hopefully, adjust their attitude.
Because a part of a teacher's job is to provide a safe and secure learning environment for their students of all types.
Yeah.
So if they're failing to do that and they're not realizing that sometimes all it takes, depending on the teacher in the case, is a student telling them that respectfully. I mean, you know, handle yourself as professionally as you would expect the teacher to, because it's a student-teacher conversation. But, you know, just be mature about it and, you know, address your concerns or your grievances and be like, hey, you know, this isn't cool. maybe not, you know.
And if you have fellow classmates, maybe talk to them and ask them, hey, have you had similar issues? Or if you know you do because you've overheard the teacher be inappropriate to others in the class, get together and maybe report it all at once, or talk to the teacher all at once first together. And if the teacher doesn't remedy that situation, then you go above their head to the principal and to parents and get them involved. But sometimes it helps to have backup and friends who have experienced it as well, because it makes your word even more valid. Not that it's not, but sometimes the teacher might be like, you know, it's him against her or teacher against student. If you have more students saying, no, that actually happens to me too, then they'll go, oh, okay, now we obviously have an issue.
It's very helpful in most cases to get backup, because at a school that I attended, there was a science teacher who was sexually assaulting students before the bell would ring and class would start. So this friend of mine got backup with all of the other girls from different periods that were having the same issue, and they all got together and they went to the office, and the office still didn't believe them, and they did not even bother asking the teacher about the situation. So it wasn't until they got these girls, which were already a group of people, probably 5 to 10 students, it wasn't until each one of those girls' parents got involved that the school finally listened and called the police. Like, it took that much effort. So sometimes you really have to go through a process. But trust me, if you stand up for it, something will change and it will happen. Like, what you want to fix will be fixed. You just have to keep standing your ground.
Yeah, don't give up just because it didn't work the first time. Then you go the extra mile, you do a little more, you get more people. But don't give up, because it's important that you stand up for yourself.
Exactly, because if you don't stand up for change, it's never going to come. So even if you're the first person that's starting the change, stick with it, because eventually the school will listen to you. Even though I know that some students have, you know, iffy schools that don't necessarily listen to their students.
Right.
Because I've been there, so
Yeah.
just stick it out.
Yeah, and again, it's the adults in charge of the school get a lot of complaints. So it's kind of their job to weed out what's true and what's not. So they might give some resistance at first, but if you give enough facts and you get adults involved, they will listen eventually, if not right away. So, because they're trying to do their job too. So hopefully, with active communication, you should be able to remedy that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is time management. I struggle to fit in breaks, family, meals, relaxation in my already chaotic school schedule. How would you break it down if you don't have control over half your day?
Well, yeah, that's tricky because I know that school can take up a lot of your day, especially if you have after-school extracurricular activities like sports. Hi, Tempest.
Hi, Tempest. And the star of Vanessa to Madness.
There she is. What I do for myself, which also takes time, but at least it's taking the time to organize things so that you can be more organized with said time. But I make myself lists, whether it's on an app on my phone, like a little quick memo, or I have Google Docs or Google Calendar. I make myself like schedules, or sometimes, so that I can be all like aesthetically cute, I make little whiteboard notes on this like whiteboard calendar I have and make it all colorful and cute, like a to-do list, like what times of the day that I should dedicate to, activities that bring me joy, and then homework, maybe taking a shower, like self-care.
Yeah.
So for me, something that helps me manage my time is putting it on something that I can visibly see, like a schedule. So I make myself like a schedule day by day or week by week that kind of like helps me stay on track so that I have enough time to both do what I have to do, like school or work or any other obligations like sports if you're on a team sport or anything, while also still allotting myself the time to relax and kind of regather myself, take care of myself, make sure that I'm not just drowning in schoolwork and not really giving myself any time to like regenerate or do any self-love activities.
Self-care, and that's important.
Because it's important to pencil in time to take care of yourself.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, depending on how early you wake up, there's a lot of hours to the day. So there will always be time, even if it's 15 to 30 minutes a day, for you to just sit down and meditate, or sit down and make a cute little sketch of something that brings you joy, or like sit down and look at some memes. Like whatever brings you joy, you should always require a little bit of time out of every day to do something that brings you joy, so that you have that little moment, even if it's small, within that day full of everything else you've had to deal with, to just like take a deep breath and like regather yourself and do something that kind of like resets your brain so that you're less stressed.
For sure, because if you don't take time to refill your tank, you're not gonna enjoy, or you're going to stress out more about everything else. So when you start getting stressed and frustrated and overwhelmed, it's probably because you haven't taken time to care for yourself and given yourself that chance to just chill and relax and just let some things go and take a deep breath and recharge, because you have to recharge. You can't give what you don't have. So if you've spent all day draining yourself, you have nothing left to give. You're going to get anxious when you still have 3 things to do. So take a minute, do what she just said, time for yourself, whatever that is. Sit up against a tree, go for a walk.
Hug a tree.
Yeah, hug a tree, feed the birds, eat some cheesecake, but in a healthy manner,
Eat the whole cheesecake.
Or that, and then, just work out the next day. It's fine. No, but do something that brings you joy and that recharges your battery. So, and then like she said, a schedule is really important. Another thing I can say is a lot of times, especially when you have a lot of friends or you're a teenager and you're going to school and you're doing all this, we tend to get sucked into helping others, like with their problems. Like so-and-so likes Billy, but Billy doesn't like her. You get those friends that text you with problems all day. You have to learn when to disconnect from that, because while you care about them, you also have to care about you. So there has to be a time that you set aside to be a good friend or a good daughter or a good son or a good sibling, but also it's okay to shut that down and take time for yourself. So don't clog up your day by constantly 10 minutes here and 20 minutes there fixing other people's problems, because that's why a lot of time we run out of time in the day, because we're spending too much time trying to fix other people's issues. And that's just something, as good people, like a lot of people do that, and you don't want to get sucked into that too much. It's great to be a wonderful person and help out, but know when it's time to let them figure it out, because it's good for other people to figure out their own problems. So take a moment and say, you know what, I'd love to help you with that, but I need to go do something right now for me because my mental health needs it. I will help you with that tomorrow. Or if you've already helped them for 25 minutes and you know you have homework, you just have to say, I'm sorry, it's time now for me to go do this. It's okay to have boundaries. So establish boundaries with your friends. That will help you have time management. Anything else?
I don't think so. For me, it's just list making. I love me some lists.
Lists are so great, and they're so fun
because then
to
it's
check them off.
it's satisfying to check off something once you've done it. Like home from school, done for the day.
Yeah.
Like did my chores, done for the day. Oh yay, it's time for me time. Like to kind of like check off each thing and then get to your favorite part, which is probably like the self-care moment.
Yeah. Bubble bath and cheesecake.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But then, you're like, homework, okay, check that off. And just do it every day, and you'll find you get less stressed, because you'll, instead of sitting there going, oh my God, I have so much stuff that I didn't do, and that stresses you out, which makes you slower and makes you, screw up more. You're like, I've already done that. I got that accomplished already. I did this already. And then you get more energy, and you're like, yeah, and you'll have more time as you get better at managing it. So just practice managing your time. And it's okay to say no to people. Just don't forget that. Boundaries are good. As far as people controlling half your day, you can't do much about that. Like if you have parents and teachers, obviously parents will say you have to have your chores when you get home from school or whatever, and teachers are going to make you go to class A, B, C. You can't control that much of it. Just get it done as fast as you can and work in your self-care time. Okay, could you do a divorce video to help with some of the people like me that need help with that? It's very hard when you're trying to exist amongst two parents that aren't getting along. Always remember, number one, has nothing to do with you. It is not your fault. Even if you have the type of parents that might have said that at one point, or they blamed each other or blamed the kids, or know that they never mean that. It was probably in anger, and most of the time, a lot of the time, people say stuff they don't mean. So in my experience, I've had friends that feel like somehow the divorce was their fault. First of all, no, that's never the problem. So please wipe that out of your memory or out of your thoughts, because that's not a thing. It's always the adults. The adults got themselves into it. It never means that they love you less, and it means that they have things that they just couldn't work out. So it's okay. It's better to be apart and healthy than together and unhealthy. So it's probably a positive that they aren't together anymore. And it doesn't mean that either one is a bad person. It just means they didn't fit anymore. And that's okay.
Sorry, my cat. I don't know if
Milo
the sound
just
picked up on
pooting.
the microphone, but my cat just farted because he passes gas, but every time he farts, it makes a really loud noise. So I'm hoping the camera picked it up. That was funny.
It's kind of funny.
It's kind of a comedic break in the middle of all this, and now it just smells
But the room
really
smells
bad.
like cat fart now.
It's worse than a dog fart.
Thanks, Milo.
Thank you for blessing the room with your lovely natural musk. Great.
I was trying to talk through it, but I couldn't. I was like,
It got really strong.
But yeah, divorce, something else that happens a lot is both parents will pin each other or use the child in the middle, like, they'll talk stuff about each other. First of all, that's not okay, and it's not your job to point that out, or maybe you can, but a mom should never talk smack about the dad, and the dad should never talk smack about the mom. Even if it's justified, you know what? Your job is to be a kid. So if you're a minor and you're a kid, just ask them, can you not say bad things about the other parent. You can ask them, say, even if it's true and I understand, can we just not to me. That's what therapy's for. That's what their best friends are for. That they should not be dragging you in the middle. You're having a hard enough time dealing with the difference in the living arrangements. So that's something else I would say, is talk to each parent and say, look, I get it, but please don't. You know, I just want to grow up and be a healthy kid. This is how you can help me be a healthy kid. Don't bash each other, because that drains me, that takes me down, that hurts me. What's your advice on that? From all your friends. Oh, is she in the shot again? Tempest, she's trying to curl up on the table right there in front of the camera. She's working for turkey.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I haven't been through the experience of having divorced parents, but I have known quite a few friends who have. In fact, I think almost every single one of my friends, very few of my friends have actually not had divorced parents.
Yeah,
the majority of people I know have divorced parents, or at least parents that are separated, even if it's not, you know, legally binding. They're separate. So, you know, they would vent to me about, you know, how their parents would, you know, talk crap about each other, or they would, you know, belittle the kid whenever it was their turn to have custody. They would still blame them, or, you know, just be grumpy and ungrateful.
Or like, why do you want to go see your dad? He's such a jerk.
Yeah,
that's
or
not
they guilt trip or gaslight you for wanting to have a connection with the other parent.
And it's okay to want to have a connection with each parent.
Because that's none of your other parent's business. That's your business with that other parent. It's none of their business on what choice you make.
And you're smart, so if that parent's doing something horribly wrong, you're going to see it. And if they are, you know to get out of that situation. So let's say the mom says, look, your dad drinks a lot. You should not be, you know, getting in a car with him when you go over there. And you get over there and it's clear that that is happening. Do not get in the car with him. You know, use your brain, use your common sense. If it's not safe, tell an adult. Tell the other parent. Because there is situations where one of the parents might be right about the other parent. But so practice your safety comes first, but everything else emotional, you can judge for yourself if it's not something that's unsafe. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between just bickering and slander and they're a jerk. There's a difference between that and if there's actually a safety issue like drugs, alcohol, abuse, stuff like that. That stuff you need to listen to.
Well, I mean, like she said, I mean, voicing your concerns to the parents, whether together or individually, is good, because there's always the matter of they don't have the outside perspective of themselves. So sometimes all it takes to fix a problem is to show them or tell them what they're doing wrong that's affecting you, because sometimes parents will just genuinely not be aware. They'll be so involved in their own emotions over the divorce and separation that they kind of forget, oh hey, my kid has feelings too.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, sometimes you just kind of have to snap them out of it a little bit and be like, hi, yeah, remember me? I have feelings.
Remember me? Getting all ground up in the, you know, cannon fodder of all this.
Yeah, so your feelings are valid, and you should never be afraid to voice your feelings or your concerns to either parent. I mean, unless you sense danger in doing so, which in that case, you know, just, you know,
don't
find
another adult.
Yeah, find a trusted adult to talk to and be like, hey, I have a problem. So
and just because you're a child or a minor, you have rights. You have the right to be safe, you have the right to be healthy, you have the right to be in a safe environment, you have the right to have food and a place to be warm or cool depending on the weather. You know, you have rights that even adults cannot take away from you. So don't let any adult make you feel like those are not your rights. And if they aren't providing that for you, you go to someone that will help you get that accomplished. An authority and another adult that you trust, for sure.
Because at that point, that's abuse.
That's abuse, yeah. That will be a video coming up, by the way. We're going to do an entire video of when it's not okay at home and when to report.